anyways, my workout is marathon strength-based workout. So ideally something that you're doing in the last 8 weeks of your marathon cycle. So the workout goes like this. Generally warm up 2-3 miles easy, and then you go into 4 miles at marathon pace. And
Straight into
then
it. We're taking a break, switching shoes.
I like to switch shoes. Yeah, switch shoes between the warm up and the first
Okay.
rep. And then 4 miles at marathon pace. And here's where I think it can vary. I think sometimes it can be good. So it's sorry, let me just backtrack. 4 miles at marathon pace, 10 miles steady, 4 miles at marathon pace, or marathon pace minus 5 seconds if it's there. Now, sometimes with this workout, I like to do the 4 miles at marathon pace, and with your race shoes, your workout shoes, your flats, whatever you're wearing. And then I like to switch back into trainers for that 10 miles. So instead of doing the long, steady 10-mile section in the middle in your carbon shoes, go back to your heavier trainers. And I like to hit that at somewhere between, like, let's say marathon pace plus 20 to 40 seconds. I think it's going to vary for people, but like when you're in really good shape, you should be able to do that within 20 to 40 seconds, I would say.
Is
Sea
this
level,
shoe
good
switch
weather.
like a health thing? Or you're trying to save the shoes, or you just want to have a bigger difference when you go to that last 4
Yeah.
or all of it?
It's a combination. I don't want to do the whole thing in carbon fiber shoes. We'll focus on making the first 4 fast. And I want that to be as like race pace. And then I want to switch back to the shoes just because it's going to be a little bit of a different stimulus. So it's a little heavier. You get a little bit different feel for the ground. Maybe it's a little bit more fatigue inducing because the shoes aren't helping you. Because as you know, like the
I was gonna say that's
reactivity.
hard to do that 4 in the carbon and then switch back. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes that hits you.
And I will say that this is not doable for everyone. Not everyone can go back to their car and switch shoes and come back, but ideally that's what I like to do. And it does make you feel flatter, it does make it feel a little clunkier, but that's a good thing because that 10-mile section there is just to provide a substantial amount of fatigue to your body so that when you go back to the 4, you've got 14, 17-ish miles already on your legs. And then the last 4, you're just trying to run marathon pace or as fast as you possibly can. And this is a good simulation of how like the last 4 to 6 miles of a marathon should feel. And
How to run hard when you have already run for a lot.
yeah. And I really like this session because it can fit really easily into a marathon training block. It's like if I did a hard workout on the long run the week before, I feel like I can still do this workout. I also think that if I introduced it early, I think it's also something that when people are training to do it like early, they can also do it really early. So like you can run 4 miles marathon pace. Sometimes I'll just tell people just go run 10 miles in the middle. Like just go
I was
run
gonna
10
say
miles.
when you first said that was like my first thought. It's like I have a lot of people that it would probably work better as easy in them, like because the steady part's probably a more high level workout, but a lot of people just the 10 easy in between the 4 miles would be good.
And I've definitely scaled that too. Like I might have some people just do 6 miles or 8 miles in the middle if their volume is not there yet. So we're gonna
Yep.
do 4 miles and then maybe somewhere between 4 to 8 miles
That'd
in
be
the middle
really
and then
cool
another
as a
4 miles.
scaling progression, like
Yeah.
earlier season, because this workout's 20. So if you had this one earlier, you could have it as like a 16 or 18 or even a 14, and then you can compare those. Like, dude, not only did we run the 2 tempos faster, but we also ran 20 miles.
And I'll also say that this workout it's a workout that the NAZ Elite team does. So Ben Rosario, I know he prescribed it for his athletes. I don't know if it comes from Ben, but that's where I was introduced to it via Nick, because Nick, you were actually the first person that I did this workout with. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was hard. And then I've done it several times over the years with other athletes as well as myself. And it's something that I
Either
think that
for you or your athletes, where do you ideally like to have it in a block? How many weeks? Like when you're doing the full 20, how many weeks until race day?
I want to say like 6.
Wow.
Because, and here's why. So I like 6 weeks out if possible. And it doesn't have to be 20 miles. Like we could cut it down if the workout is too substantial.
Sure.
But I generally like to see the run that's 4 weeks out be one of the heavier volume runs, so it's not always the hardest run.
4 weeks out more.
4 weeks out from the race.
But you're saying this one's 6, but 4 weeks out, you're having more intensity than this?
More volume typically. I like that to be the highest volume of.
It's like a 22.
Like a 22, or depending on, where you're at. I like it to be like a pretty steady 20 to, let's just say 16 for some people.
More, more volume at marathon pace instead of just 8 miles at marathon
24.
pace. Yeah.
And then kind of dialing in up, obviously, from there, like you're still doing hard workouts with 3 and possibly 2 weeks to go. But I like it 6 weeks out just because I don't think that it's not the most specific of workouts, but it's one that provides a lot of volume that can make you stronger, but still take some time to recover from.
For sure. I love it. Even I remember those guys, and I've seen a lot of people will do the pretty similar, but just have the 4 at the end, like what we call a fast finish long run. And it's like a cool way to utilize that, because that is such a skill everyone talks about in the marathon, like running hard while fatigued. That's what the marathon is. And so this is like a great way to practice that. But also, one thing we don't talk a lot about in the marathon is that like you also run hard, like not really warmed up, because like you can't do a warm up, you can't get fully ready for the marathon, because we don't run that much beforehand. And so like a shorter warm up and just kind of having to get into marathon pace, it's like a hard skill that we don't talk about a lot, and you never practice. You would never like, yeah, let's practice not warming up today. Like that's just like a crappy part of the marathon.
I also think it's like a good way for athletes to learn some lessons. Like if you go too hard at any point, whether it's too hard on the first 4, or if you get a little bit too antsy, because I've done this where you get a little bit too antsy, you go too hard on the middle 10 or that middle segment.
Trying to get that average down.
Yeah, all of a sudden that last 4, that hits real hard. And, it's just a good way to learn a pretty important lesson with a marathon is you have to be controlled early. This is one of those sessions, especially if you're scheduling it a little bit earlier in the block. It just teaches like, hey, you got to be controlled. That first 4 isn't a threshold. You have to be controlled and feel comfortable and hold back on that middle 10 section too. So I think it's a good way to just learn some marathon lessons as well too, or get some reminders if it's been a while.
Yeah, okay. I agree.
Well, I'm glad we all like the session. So I think it's a good one. Yeah. I think Ben, I learned it from Ben before I ran for Ben. So we had done it prior to me joining the team, and it's always been fun. I remember